and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to the June 17th County Commission meeting. I'd remind you to silence your cell phones, and the meeting documents are on the end of the counter next to Commissioner Kelly. And if you need a listening device, Robert's in the front row and he can get you a listening device.
Routine business. Item 1 is consider a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a request to change the agenda around an amendment. Dick, are you going to amend the agenda?
Yeah, what are we, I'm sorry, I was doing this stupid thing. We need to move item 12 to,
Ahead of number 10.
ahead of number 10.
Do you want to make a motion?
Substitute.
That's a motion.
That's a
motion
substitute motion.
to amend and adopt the agenda.
I'll second the substitute.
We have a substitute motion to move item number 12 ahead of number 10. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. That was a substitute, so we can move on. Okay.
Item
I'm
2
sorry,
is-
I'll pay attention. I
That's
know.
okay.
Item 2 is to approve the County Commission minutes of June 10th, 2014.
Move for approval.
I have a motion to approve the
Second.
minutes and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Item 3 are bills to be paid in the amount of $623,125.89.
Move for approval.
Second.
I've had a motion and a second to pay the bills. I was just going to make one comment. We have talked about this before, where the court services have to do psych evaluations, and the cost of those psych evaluations, and I'm probably not going to find it right now. Actually, it was the state's attorney's office. Let's see if I can find the amount. I'm not finding the amount right offhand, but it was a very large bill for a psych evaluation. Just wanted to bring that to your attention again. I have a motion and a second to approve the bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Item 4 are reports, the auditor's account with the county treasurer as of May 2014, the Register of Deeds official statement of fees collected during May 2014, and the general fund surplus analysis as of March 31st, 2014, have all been received and are placed on file in the auditor's office. Item 5 is personnel actions. A, consider a motion to approve the routine personnel actions.
Move for approval of
Second.
routine.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the routine actions. Are there any questions for Carrie? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Item B, consider a motion for a special personnel action to approve the rate of pay increase for Carol Muller, Human Services Director, from $24.11 to $24.12, $92,809.60 annually. Carrie.
Good morning. This is a request for a permanent adjustment to Carol's salary to recognize responsibilities that she's assumed related to DTAX. You might remember that she's been receiving a temporary additional adjustment for the last year plus. This is a slightly lower rate in recognition of the permanent responsibilities that she'll be assuming.
Are there any questions for Carrie?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve a special personnel action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
Item number 6 is application for abatement. Kyle Hillseth.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Carrie.
We bring forward this morning 15 requests for abatements, and these are from the exemptions granted by the County Commissioners at the Board of Equalization. The first 11 are for a veteran exemption, and if you'll bear with me, I'll read the record ID number and the amount requested, probably the fastest. The first is for record ID 26532 in the amount of $1,532.38. Next one is record ID 37680 in the amount of $1,560.97. Record ID 39522 in the amount of $780. Record ID 39850 in the amount of $57.78. Record ID 41072 in the amount of $1,372.30. Record ID 55408 in the amount of $1,560.97. Record ID 57534 in the amount of $786.90. Record ID 61439 in the amount of $778.35. Record ID 63110 in the amount of $650.05. Record ID 69044 in the amount of $1,560.97. Record ID 69924 in the amount of $1,308.73.
Any questions for Kyle? Yes.
Kyle, could you just give us a quick synopsis of what the requirement is for the veterans exemption?
The veterans exemption that's granted is up to $100,000 on the value of the property if the veteran is deemed unable to work and 100% disabled. Again, the different values are, some of these properties weren't worth $100,000, so they were actually exempted. And there are a few of them there that at $1,560.87, that was the full $100,000. So they bounce around all over the county in different tax rates. It's, we have 361 of them on the books right now.
Thank you. I'd make a motion to approve items A through K.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the veterans exceptions A through K. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And we have 4 more.
The next 4 more are on exemptions that were granted by the county commissioners, again at the Board of Equalization, and these are different varying types. The first one is for Phillips Home, record ID 32705. The exemption was granted, and the amount they're asking for as far as an abatement was $1,227.29. TLC Community Development, record ID 25487. Exemption granted. Their request is for $2,265.02. The Downtown Good Samaritan Housing, exemption granted. They're asking for an abatement of $4,610.78. And the last one is South Dakota Achieve, record ID 77671. They're asking for an abatement amount in $10,697.54.
Are there any questions for Kyle?
Kyle, what, excuse me, is the Achieve request, is that some new property that they purchased?
Let me look. It's at 3803 North Louise Avenue. It appears to be some new property that they acquired.
Any other questions for Kyle? These are ones that came to us at the Board of Equalizations in April.
That's correct.
I will be looking for a motion to approve the last 4, L through O.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Item 7, notices and requests. The East Dakota Water Development sent a notice of a meeting 9 a.m. Thursday, June 19th, 2014, at the EDWDD office, 132B Airport Avenue in Brookings, South Dakota. There are no planning and zoning notices today. The next item is petition for compromise of lien. John Peckus.
Thank you, Cindy. This is on DPNO number 1101 in the amount of $6,707.29. This was deferred from last week to allow us to obtain the tax records of the applicant. Once again, this is, just to refresh everybody's recollection, this is on an accident injury that occurred. The applicant currently does have a lien that's been placed by the county for a variety of services that the county has offered to the applicant, and currently he has a personal injury claim that's being handled by Wilker and Welter. And anyway, they've come forward with an offer to compromise a lien in the amount of $6,707.29 for a payment of $1,000, and this was deferred from last week. Apparently, he actually did receive $9,826 in his tax return, and both he and his wife received that. And once again, looking at the amount that was offered in settlement on this particular claim, apparently it's $4,000 less than the expenses that have already been incurred. So currently, this individual has incurred more than what he's going to be receiving from the proceeds of the accident. Once again, the applicant currently is unemployed. He's on disability. He receives $7,212 in disability benefits. His wife has an annual income of roughly $23,000. They have 2 daughters. Once again, he has total assets of $360 and total liabilities of the $4,000. The lien represents, of course, a variety of services that I already discussed, starting in 1983 and going all the way up through 2008. What's significant, though, is that the applicant did actually make payments towards this lien. They weren't substantial payments, but nevertheless, he did attempt to make payments. Once again, there is, in the alternative, an offer that if we do not accept the offer of $1,000, that we go ahead and at least release the lien as it relates to the accident proceeds that currently are in offer. So, accept the $1,000 and he'll still owe the $5,707.29. So I'm going to make that motion. I don't know if anybody will give me a second on that.
I have a motion to accept $1,000 in payment, but leave the lien against the applicant for $5,707.29. Is there a second?
I'll second
I have
that.
a motion and a second. Are there any?
No, we're releasing the lien against this judgment, is that
Right.
correct?
Right. So the lien would remain against this applicant.
We're getting some money out of this settlement, but remember, this individual is upside down when it comes to his expenses.
Right.
Sorry to make your argument for
Nope.
you, but I'm just championing your cause.
Yeah.
So, this is, we're leaving the lien against the property. This person has disability income. We're never going to be able to levy or garnish it. And I don't want to say he's judgment-proof, but unfortunately, we have circumstances where we've all visited this issue before. And, for lack of a better term, the bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush.
I have a motion and a second to accept the $1,000 from the applicant, leaving the $5,707.29 in place. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great argument.
The next item is opportunity
So
for
can you bill them
public
for
comment.
that?
This is the time when you can speak about whatever's not on the agenda.
Hi.
Good morning.
This is the first time I've ever taken this opportunity.
Aha.
But yesterday was a really interesting day for the treasurer's office. The state computers were down for about 4.5 hours in the morning. And then we got apparently the flood warning, but it sounded like a tornado warning because they came off of people's cell phones that they had in their purses.
Yeah.
So we go in the hall thinking that there's a tornado warning out there, put the money in the vault and the safe and all that, and we're sitting outside. Apparently nobody else heard the sirens but us, but I think that's because those people we had our cell phones on, and it was really a flash flood warning, which we thought was really a tornado warning. So we figured that out, and we didn't spend much time in the hall. And then the day went on, and we didn't think a whole lot about the rain. And I'm not blaming anybody or accusing anybody, but we can learn a lot from this. If we'd had snow like that, we would have sent people home early. One of my employees actually ended up spending the night in her car. She got stuck between Sioux Falls and Canton. She could not get to Canton, and she could not get back to Sioux Falls. And she said it really didn't look that bad. She was all the way to Schindler, and there was no water over the road. So she had no idea that she was going to get stuck there. But fortunately, the good news was she got home about 5:49 this morning, and she was not out there on that road all by herself. There were other cars that were also stuck there, so it was less scary than it might have been. It's lucky it was her and not me, because I would have really freaked. And I would have found it horrifying. But anyway, so I think that there needs to be a better way of letting our employees know that maybe they should have went home earlier, or maybe they should decide to just not go home at all. I didn't expect to see that kind of flooding that we saw. And anyway, so if there's some way we could let our people know that they would have left and went home. The person who lived in Lenox barely got home. But she did get home. Then they closed the interstate and stuff down, so she wouldn't have been able to get home either. But I think there's a lot that can be learned from this particular incident, and I would hope that we can do a better job going forward, working together to let our people be safer than they were yesterday when they went home, because we really had no idea that there was that kind of peril. And if you don't have your TV on, in which you don't at work, we didn't have any way of knowing it was that bad. So anyway, whatever we can do to make it better, I'm hoping you'll work with me to see that that happens, because I would hate to send another one of my people see another one of my people spend the night in the car,
Yep.
because it had to be a horrifying experience. But thank you for your
Yep.
time and consideration.
Pam,
Yes.
would it have made any difference? Because even if you could let them go home, it would have been already in the middle of this whole thing.
Well, if they'd have left at 2 or 3 in the afternoon,
But we didn't know it was happening. We have actually emergency management is going to talk at public comment,
Yeah,
just kind of give
well,
us an update.
all I'm saying is there needs to be a better way of knowing, or if we think that this is going to be like it is, I don't know. Maybe there's not, and maybe it can't be helped, but if there's any possible way, we can give more advance notice of this kind. I think they could have been a little more proactive, because if you looked at the highway and the interstate and those roads and the ditches, somebody could have shut the roads down earlier. I think Bill Janklow would have.
Thanks, Pam. Public comment. Lynn, emergency management wants to give us an update.
Commissioner Emergency Management Linda Young here, and I've just got the sheriff and the highway superintendent also. As you know, Minnehaha County and most of this region was impacted by severe weather yesterday, and that caused substantial flooding in and around the city of Sioux Falls, and then Brandon, Valley Springs, and a little bit less up in the Renner area, but there is significant flooding up that way. We haven't seen any great impact to the communities. There are homes in each one of them that are impacted, basements and some of those things. On the emergency management side, we're keeping up with those, working with those communities and those requests that we have. We haven't seen any large rescues of people, so we're getting the word out, telling them to do the right thing. Think ahead and use some common sense as far as their travels, and if it looks bad, it probably is bad. But I'll turn the majority of the discussion over to the sheriff, and then DJ will both give an update if they have any on life safety road issues with the sheriff, and then any other road issues that DJ might have, and then be able to answer any questions.
Thank you. Good morning, Sheriff.
So he's going to turn the majority of this over to me. So. Thanks, Len. So a couple things. One is DJ's here, and I want to thank the county highway staff in particular. If you think about running about 6 to 8 deputies out in 800 square miles, when these roads start having to be closed, it really impacts our staffing level. And so what we did was work with both the volunteer fire departments, the rescue squad from emergency management, and then DJ. And as we'd identify roads that were clearly going to have to be closed, if they were county roads, he was sending crews out to get barricades up so we could pull those deputies off. We had to remain, available for calls. And to Pam's note, I understand, but I can tell you that the media and social media was rolling constantly with updates on road closures. They had to close the interstate. They had to close 115 south of Sioux Falls. They closed I-90. I mean, all of those closures were regularly updated, and so part of it is upon us to keep track of what's going on. I don't think that it was something that you'd want to close the county admin building early yesterday. Some of these storms come up, and depending on where you're at in the county, the first storm, when it hit and dropped about 5 inches here in the western part of Minnehaha County, got about a ½ inch or an inch. Yeah. So it was really some areas that didn't get a lot. But it was helpful having DJs and his people out there available. I will tell you that it's one of the resources that's straining right now are volunteer firefighters. They've been putting in they put in a long night. They're, in particular, I was just at Valley Springs, talked to their fire chief there, and it's what they do. But these people have regular jobs too, and I give a lot of credit to those volunteers, some of the reserve rescue squad members too. So I think things are starting to return to near normal, other than the fact that, and I don't know if Lynn wants to address it. We've had the short-term burst of the flash flood, I will call it, and that is what's the longer-term forecast for, like the Sioux River, and whether or not any of this was far enough north that that's going to start impacting us later on in the Renner area and where we traditionally have flooding. So that's what we're keeping an eye on. We're obviously, Lynn's been in contact with National Weather Service. We're watching what's going to develop tonight and tomorrow. Then we're going to be in for a long dry period, but we could get more. And, what we do with my department is I uniform up some of our civil and warrant staff. I uniform up my detectives. We'll put them out to provide additional manpower on these areas. But right now, this morning, things have calmed down to the fact that we're starting to respond on, cattle that are wandering loose, horses that people are concerned about because they're on an island, but all of them are alive, and the water is starting to go down. So those are the types of calls. And then we're going to, if you see some of the places, and DJ maybe will speak to it, where the water erosion is significant, there's significant damage to some of the roadways. So. And the townships have been good coming out to try to, protect some of their roads or close them off. But it's so spotty. It isn't like you could say, okay, all Sioux Falls Public Schools are closed today. It's because there's a lot of roads that are open and people can come home and, and move freely. But there's a lot of ones that are closed, and they just have to. They're going to see barricades. Is what they're going to see. So I just appreciate the work that everybody's doing on it, in particular the volunteers.
Thanks, Sheriff.
DJ?
Morning, Commissioners. DJ Boothie, Highway Superintendent. Since yesterday afternoon, we've had just about 16 road closures on county highways. That doesn't include any township roads or municipal roads. We've assisted them a little bit, but for the most part, we try to let them take care of their own roads because we have so many issues on our county highways. And the 16 road closures have lasted anywhere from start to continuing on, or some of them were just a few hours yesterday or during the night or whatever. So we've been pretty busy just basically on road closures. We have started to assess damage this morning and a little bit throughout the night. We had a couple roads that washed out. The most significant one was southeast of town, our County Highway 150, which is kind of south of Rowena. That one, about half the road has washed out and the pavement is missing. That's the most serious damage that you can see, but we have a lot of miles that the shoulders are washed away, and it's going to be a long time to do some maintenance to get those back up to where they were before. Overall, like the sheriff and Lynn said, the communication between the different departments and other agencies have been great. Everybody's working together to make sure that we keep the public safe and the roads open as much as possible with them being safe. So I don't know if you have any questions, but that's our update from Highway.
Was that County Road 150 or 150?
150.
150. And I'm assuming it's closed since half of it's gone.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, and just to follow up on a couple things, long term, currently it all depends on the sky and Mother Nature, but right now the Big Sioux River Basin is still within the banks. It's come up a little, but most of the rain, as you know, if you kind of draw from southwest Sioux Falls to the Valley Springs area, has been much of the greatest impact. So the Big Sioux River Basin is still holding stable, but depending on future forecasts in the next couple of days, that could change. Also, the Silver Creek Basin, which is on the northeast side of Renner, which has a potential to flood Renner, is also maintaining a elevated level, but it doesn't appear at this current forecast appear that that'll give us any trouble. But the one thing I will have to say is pretty much everybody east of I-29, the next couple days, next couple weeks, the ground's now been saturated, so that if we do get rain, it'll quickly turn into a flash flood event once again like we saw yesterday. So we just want to remind people both from the highway side and the public safety side, law enforcement, fire rescue, EMS, that if water's going over the road, do not cross it. Please call the non-emergency number at the down at Metro 911 so we can get someone out there, because most likely we've either A, got resources en route, or it's happened so quickly that we don't quite know about it yet. So so those are a couple answers, and it's just to follow up, I don't think anyone had a forecast of 4 to 8 inches in this area. Had we would, there would have been different things made, but sometimes the safest place is just to stay at your place of employment, and it may not be fun, it may not be exciting, but that is the safest place. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, but like I say, the three of us are working actively with our rural communities along with the city of Sioux Falls to mitigate any situations that we have out there.
Any questions for Lynn?
Lynn, I heard on the way in that they're still recommending no travel in Lincoln County. Is that correct?
Yep, we've been in contact. I know they had several vehicles in the water, people standing on roofs along I-29, the Fairview exit area. So just as a matter of them having difficulty getting to the media, we remind people to be safe, turn around, go the other way, don't go into water. So yeah, they are active, and we've had some minor requests for them for assets. As far as some pumps and some of those things, and can provide them if we feel that it's in the that we're still maintaining a safe environment for our citizens, that we would do that and keep you guys informed. But yes, they are still having significant issues down and around the Lincoln County, Turner County area. So
They had Timmerman, is that his name?
Yep.
On Kello this
Sure.
morning. He said there was no one on roofs, but there was a motor grader or something like that. They were working and it hit them too fast, and these guys were on top of the motor grader.
yeah,
And it was waist deep when they rescued them, but
I know there are several vehicles in the, not running because of water, and several different stories on the way people were rescued. I think the moral of the story is don't drive in flooded water. Don't be that person, whether it's an inch or 10 feet. It's just not good. It's difficult to get rescue as they're from, at some point, miles away. So just don't do that no matter what the story is.
Any other questions for Lynn?
no.
Lynn,
Could we hear from Darren too after Lynn's done?
Lynn, where would we find the non-emergency number for Metro?
Yeah, it's 367-7000.
367-7000 is a non-emergency number for Metro 911 if you have a non-emergency emergency.
Yep.
Non-emergency, emergency.
Non-emergency emergency.
Good morning, Commissioners. Darren Ketchum, Metro Communications. Just to kind of give you a little bit of how quickly this came on. Yesterday from 2 to 3, we had 50 calls. From 3 to 4, we had 200. So kind of shows you the volume that we had. Normally, in this time of year, we would see maybe 40 calls per hour. So, yeah. Yes, did I answer any questions?
Everybody communicated
Yeah,
together.
yeah, everything, from a response went very well. Taxing on resources, but went well.
Any other questions for Darren? Okay. Anyone else want to comment at public comment? I think so. Robert, did you have something?
Yeah, Robert Wilson with the Commission Office, and just to follow up on the questions or comments that Pam Nelson raised. Our current policy for severe weather is to, if we have a tornado warning, to make the announcement within the building and on the campus of that status and direct people to emergency shelter locations. And I was in contact with Linda Young, and I know he was working with the sheriff and DJ at that point. And so I was following up to see what was coming and if we were likely to have that situation and prepared for it. To Pam's comments, if there's something more that we could or should be doing, I think we would be eager to have that conversation. But in our office and in terms of communicating that to the rest of the employee groups, we really rely on the gentleman that you just heard of for the public safety direction. And again, if there's something more that we should be doing, we would be happy to have that conversation.
Thank you, Robert. All right, guess we can move on.
Regular business. We'll go to item number 12, which is to authorize the chairman to sign the emergency management state and local agreement between Minnehaha County and the state of South Dakota. Linda Young.
Commissioners, Linda Young, Emergency Management. As you know, my office has funded through a emergency management grant with the state of South Dakota that comes from the federal government. That's a 50% grant for eligible salary and administrative expenses. Typically what happens is in October, you guys sign the first contract, which says we're going to participate in the program, we're going to do the work that's requested by the state and within the agreement, and then later on, once they get funding, their final funding from the federal government, they'll give us a number that we have, and you have that within your briefing document. I think it's $227,000 and change. So the second document is basically just to reaffirm our decision and say, yes, we're still going to do that, and for all the work that we've done, we want to get paid, and for the future work for the rest of the year, we want to get paid. Any additional grant dollars that are left over, we usually use for other administrative expenses. In the past, we've done 9/11 communication stuff and others. This year, one of the things that I'm going to submit for that grant are to try to recover some costs or some of the GIS mapping costs that the counties currently has with that project. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'd request the commission to authorize the emergency manager, the auditor, and the chairperson to sign that agreement.
Any questions for Lynn regarding the agreement? We do this every year.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks,
Find some
Commissioner.
time to get some sleep.
Okay, we'll go back to item number 10, which is to consider an appeal of a decision by the Planning Commission to approve conditional use permit 14-22 with 8 conditions to allow mini storage units on the property legally described as Lot 1, Block 3, Browers 2nd Edition, Southwest Quarter, Section 27, Township 102 North, Range 51 West. Scott Anderson.
Thank you. Scott Anderson, representing Minnehaha County Planning and Zoning, and I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint presentation. But while that's occurring, I'll just give you the brief overview of what has occurred and why this is on the agenda today. This is an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision, a recommendation on conditional use permit 1422. This was a conditional use permit request to allow some mini storage units in the Brower Edition. The property is located basically at the corner of Jesse and Jeffrey Street in Brower 2nd Edition. It went before the Planning Commission on May 19th, and the Planning Commission recommended approval with 8 conditions. And if you'd like me to read those conditions, I certainly will. However, a property owner within the Brower Edition appealed the Planning Commission's recommendation, and today it's before you as an appeal. And the applicant is here. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have, but let me show you the PowerPoint presentation. So basically, this is the location of the property. As I indicated, it's at the corner of Jesse and Jeffrey Drive. This was what the applicant's proposal for the mini storage units. The property right now is just a vacant lot. You can see it's on the paved portion of those 2 roads. There are other mini storage units. These are the mini storage units that are located to the east. This is looking at the corner, looking directly east. And I'll take you back to the air photo. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Have any questions for Scott? Questions for Scott? Okay, this is a public hearing. We would take comments from the proponent. This is an issue that we discussed several weeks ago. I think that's part of the reason it's coming to us. We didn't just talk about this specific issue, but just to remind you, this is an area we have discussed in the past. So if you'd identify yourself and your address, please, for the record.
Good morning, Commissioners. Excuse me. My name's Mark Schoenfelder. My address is 26138 463rd Avenue in Hartford, which I basically live direct south of that location, about a mile. So I'm very familiar with the roads, the area. I've been there for years. I'm very aware of the road conditions in Brower Edition 1. They are like a lot of township gravel roads. They are very soft in the spring when the frost goes out. The roads do need some work. They have been like this for years, for 10 years. But the landowners also have to do their part. They need to keep culverts open, drainage ditches open, grading lots also need to be done right. When they drain their lots toward the road, the water sits next to the road will be soft. The area in front of the mini storage units, who is the guy that appealed me, is the biggest stretch of bad roads in the whole area. I do have some pictures I'd like to show you guys that I took the first week in June. Okay. That is the west end of one of his, like a 16-foot culvert. This is showing the road in front, how the water, you can see, is leached right through the gravel and everything. This is on the east end of his culvert. So I don't know how long that is. He's got a frontage that's almost 200 feet long, and he's got about 16 foot of culvert. There's another picture, pretty much the same thing. And this was when we were fairly dry, the first part of June. So that water, you would think, would disappear relatively fast. This is a stream on the west end of the culvert that is draining that big pond. Here's the upstream side of the culvert. Another picture of the water coming out into the roadway. This, well, both of these. This picture particularly shows the road right-of-way. He's been complaining about people driving over onto his land. If he's got the ditch completely full and them storage units, the break point, I never took a transit out there and shot them in, but half of them are draining toward the road. I don't really know what he expects.
Question. So the fence line is his property on the, I'm looking at it on my right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, is that the road, or is that the ditch by the?
That is the road on the left-hand side.
So his water is running onto the road?
That is correct.
Okay.
And I have several pictures. They're basically the same. I think you guys are getting what I'm after.
Where's the location of the, oh, I see the culvert, okay, okay. Is that a-
There's no water coming out of that culvert.
I showed you
On
a
that
picture
picture.
of the water.
A little
that's
bit of
coming
trickle.
out.
Yeah.
There's a picture of the water that's coming out. It's less than your little finger.
So does it drain to the west?
It drains to the west, and then actually, if it would drain out of that culvert, there's a real nice drain that goes right around the backside of one of his storage units.
But other
And then
than,
goes to the
other than
south.
being smashed up, that culvert can do its job on a normal situation, right?
I think
might
it would
be.
sure help a lot. I have seen his neighbors directly to the east. This picture here is looking to the east. This spring, when the frost goes out of the ground and the gravel is so soft, I've seen his neighbors drive all the way to the east and take Ashley and come all the way around. Because this is the worst stretch of road in the whole area.
Is that road his road, or is that part of the,
This is the
Development.
entrance road coming in. This is Jeffrey.
I guess I'm confused here. Yeah. But the, okay, the culvert is across, goes across Jeffrey Street?
No, that goes across his driveway. That's a driveway going into his storage units. We're looking due east there. To the right-hand side of the culvert, as you look at it, that would be to the south.
What's the road in the foreground?
Scott, could you put up the picture that we have that's the aerial shot, and then maybe you could just point with like where the culvert is, and just so we have a better idea of that one. Maybe blow it up just a little smidgen bit. Oh, okay. Never mind. I can blow it up on my iPad, but you probably can't.
Where Mr. Schoenfelder is talking about, he's at this point looking east,
Okay.
and
I'm basically right here, Scott, right on the edge, right there where the S is. That's where all them pictures are taken from.
he's looking east. And what he was showing you was the driveways that, or the approaches that come off of Jeffrey Street and run into these storage units, and he was showing you the culverts that were underneath those driveways.
And the grade, that's where I say the landowner's got to do their part too. If they got their lots graded to where they're going to drain back to the road and then complain about the shape the road's in, I really don't understand that. I'm very curious to see if it's a road condition that's the problem with the person that is appealing my storage units, or if it's the competition. These roads have been this way for 10 years. Last year there was a big storage unit put in for large RVs and motorhomes and stuff. That didn't get appealed. I'm in direct competition with him because I'm putting up many storage units, the same thing he has.
Questions for Mr. Schoenfelder? Commissioner Peckus?
Mr. Schoenfelder, when was the last time you remember having a meeting of the road district that's in there?
I have never been to a meeting. I had just purchased the land in October of last year.
Okay.
With the intentions of trying to build something to offset when I retire someday.
Sure. Thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Schoenfelder? Are there any opponents present? There are no opponents to this. Do you have anything else you want to say before I have the commission discuss this?
I am also very surprised that the county would turn down building permits or tax dollars because of an ill-operated road association. I think you guys should be issuing the permits and forwarding your calls directly to the road district. You're not going to get anything or ahead of anybody by not letting the people in there. And the tougher you make it, the more they're not going to go in there.
Thank you.
I think we had that conversation a couple weeks ago, Mark, and I think most of us agree with you, because the road district is kind of a legal entity upon itself that needs to decide how to legislate their own activity. And unfortunately, it doesn't appear, as John suggested, I don't think that there's been any conversations with neighbors in a road district environment to make it happen.
I don't know the law real well, but the people I've talked to and stuff, they said a road district or association can pretty much do whatever they want. And they are
Yep.
just not doing it.
Yep. They have the authority to tax and fix those roads.
They could go in there and blacktop every road
Yep.
and tax assess every person in there.
Correct.
Yep.
But there's a couple people that are in there that are bucking the system because of what their contract said. And I think their contract is probably null and void, what it said, as soon as the road district is formed. And I don't know why it's taken so long to get this stuff straightened out.
It also said we were responsible and we're not responsible. So, yeah, it's basically null and void because we're not responsible.
Now, did we determine whether there was one or two road districts, and what that, if that western part is a road district?
Kirsten, you want to speak to what was decided this last time, or to answer his questions?
I think our understanding was there were two separate entities there, and I don't know exactly which roads it applies to which, but I do know the issue that our applicant is talking about, and I just want to reiterate that too, that as Gerald said, these road districts they're treated like another entity, like a municipality for those limited purposes of building and maintaining those roads. He mentioned those contracts that said, hey, the county can forcibly tax the people who are around this road district. That's not true. And if that's what the litigation's about, I don't think that's going anywhere. I would agree with what the applicant said describing the situation.
I just don't agree with not issuing permits. I don't think it's going to help nothing.
I'll make a motion to deny the appeal and approve the conditional use permit 14-22.
Second.
With the conditions.
I do have one more thing.
Yep.
On my 7 or 8 conditions, I applied for this back in the first week in April, and you guys got one of the conditions that I gotta have all hard surface parking by July 15th.
Oh,
I don't think I can handle that. I don't know if I can even get them built anymore this fall because I've been getting pushed off so far.
Scott,
I've had contractors lined up. I had to shut them down. Contractors are so busy. Now with 2 weeks of rain, they're so far behind.
It's July
next year.
15th at 2:15.
I understand that,
Okay.
but still,
Well, you can ask them to change that condition
and that's what I,
to whatever date you
Yeah.
can get it done.
What's a reasonable amount of time?
I don't know, before
I was saying
the winter of 15.
November of 15?
Something to that order. And
And
Scott?
then have a date, so if we could say like November 1st or December 1st
Yeah.
of 2015, that gives me a date that I can,
Go out and look.
go out and, that's the date.
Did we
Change it
have
to
a
December.
second?
Yeah, we had a
You
second.
did, but you can do a substitute motion at
I'll
this
do
time.
a substitute motion to substitute the date on item number 6 to November 1st, 2015.
I need to get some income coming in.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
You
a
bought
lot
the
of
property.
money to blacktop or crushed asphalt or whatever.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve or to deny the appeal and approve the conditional use permit with a change to number 6 as making the hard surface area date to November 1st, 2015. Are there any other questions?
Discussion?
Is there some discussion? That was a quick question.
Well, the only concern I have is if we continue to grant these building permits, which, I mean, he's going to comply with everything that was said, nothing's ever going to get straightened out there. And maybe it's just an internal thing. I mean, I know they're in court now. Is that correct, Kirsten?
My understanding from the applicants last time that before you, that it was not only assigned to court and a suit was pending, but that a decision was pending. Now, I don't know what exactly the issue is that they're having decided.
I think I've heard that it's been in litigation for 4 years. So,
Oh, we'll just keep pushing it.
Well, I guess if they want us involved, they ought to probably let us know what's going on.
Commissioner
I
Bennett.
think we need to look at this as an independent transaction because frankly, that road district is in contention amongst themselves. We have no authority or responsibility. So as far as I'm concerned, that road district, they can go to court, do their thing, but Mr. Schoenfelter can move ahead with his project and have nothing to do with, frankly, the neighborhood because it appears that that's their own, quote, sovereign nation of concerns.
I have a motion and a second. There's any other discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'm in favor.
You're in favor? Motion passes 4-0. You got it.
thank you, Commissioners.
I do have a question. I don't know if this is an old business question or not, but we did deny one a couple weeks ago and gave them 90 days. And can they come back before those 90 days, or do they have to wait for 90 days?
What exactly was the
It was the same
decision?
issue, different company.
We didn't deny it, we just continued it for 90 days, and so it's scheduled to come back to you in the middle of August. I don't know the exact date.
Can they ask to have it moved up?
Typically, I recommend no, because when the petitioner asks to move it up, it's difficult for the other people, the opponents that were here, to follow that, and then we run into, well, you moved it up, so you took away my right to show up, to comment.
Okay.
It's cleaner to keep it,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
easier for
Yeah.
everyone if we can keep the same date.
Okay, just a question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we're finished with that. Let's go on to number 11.
Item 11, consider a request by the Multicultural Center to appoint county commissioner representative to the Multicultural Center Board of Directors. Robert Wilson.
Morning, Commissioners. Robert Wilson with the Commission Office. The MCC approached our office a week or so ago offering a board position on the MCC Board of Directors. And
This is different from the intergovernmental board that a number of you sit on. That is the overall review board that, in essence, is almost a higher level of review from both city and county representation of the organization as a whole. This would be representation on the organization's board. There are really two items here that are going on. I think long-term, the MCC would like to have permanent county commission representation on their board, and they are working towards a change in bylaws that may constitute that and put that into the essence of their organizational setup. That is may take a little longer than the more immediate issue is that they have a current opening on the board. And as they work through potential bylaw changes, they would also like to have a commissioner fill that open position on the board right now. So that is the request. If the commission would like to appoint one of yourselves to serve on the Multicultural Center Board of Directors.
This is a meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning, I think once a month on Wednesdays. I think it might be the third Wednesday of the month. Is there anybody that wants to volunteer for that position?
It is a third Wednesday.
Third Wednesday of the month at 7 o'clock in the morning.
7 a.m.
Anybody that wants to volunteer for that position?
Well, given the fact that Jeff isn't here, I'd like to nominate Jeff.
I would second that.
If nobody wants to volunteer, I think we should have a discussion. I mean, it's my prerogative to appoint, so if you don't want to volunteer, we'll just have...
You know, we've got, I mean, there's a lot of outside boards that would want us, want county representation. I think, we have to balance all the things we have, and there's 2 or 3 boards that don't get a lot of attendance. I sit on the diversity board, and sometimes we'll have 1 member there. So it's, I just hate, I guess there's no action we could agree to appoint, but I just think it's adding a little more to our workload than and others may come in and ask the same thing, and there's only so many you can be on. But.
Commissioner Backus.
Well, we are the landlord. I think it's great that they're offering us a position on the board. With that being said, this is going to be a 3-year appointment, and I view this somewhat consistent with our appointment to Metro Council. If we are going to do an appointment, it should be a 6-month appointment, and we should ask the Multicultural Center to allow the chairman to appoint for commission discussion and action at the first meeting in January to do that 3-year appointment. So it's consistent with what we're doing with, for example, Metro Council.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because that's when we do all of our assignments, and it does take commission action. But right now, if we were to appoint somebody right now, we'd be out of sync. It'd be a middle-of-the-year appointment in the middle of budget time. If we do something, I'd ask the chair to consider in the commission for just a 6-month interim appointment until January rolls around, so we can have it be more of on a continuum.
Yep, and also sometimes 3 years doesn't work for us because if you happen to be in your last year of your 4, you're only going to be on there 1 year unless you're reelected or run again. So
correct.
I think that we will just take that under consideration, and I'll talk with Jeff and see what his interests are, or if anyone else is interested in 6 months, and then we can address the continuing. And I think it is a good idea we're on there because the city has somebody on there, and you're right, we're the landlords.
And I did suggest Jeff, even though he isn't here today, but he has commented to me and talked to me about possibly getting somebody on their board. So I think he may be interested in it. So.
All right, we'll take it under consideration.
Very good.
Thank you.
Item number 13, authorize the chairman to sign agreement for Indian Child Welfare Act qualified expert witness between Minnehaha County and Luke Yellowrobe. Kirsten Kapmeyer.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Kirsten Katmar, State's Attorney's Office. I bring before you a agreement between Mr. Luke Yellowrobe of Yellowrobe Consulting and the state's and the Minnehaha County to provide certain services in ICWA-related cases. ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, is a federal law that requires certain procedural protections be put into place in cases where there's a possibility that a Native American child may be placed in a non-Native American home. And to that end, because this is a federal requirement, DSS, the state of South Dakota, provides the county with some funds to acquire the services of that required expert. Already we have an agreement between DSS and the county to provide the funds in a certain amount to the county for this particular purpose. What I'm asking for today is authorization from the commission to sign the other leg of the stool, so to speak, the agreement between the county and the expert retained. There is a slight increase in the funds over the prior year that are being paid to this expert. However, it's revenue and expense neutral to the county because all of the money paid out to this expert by the county is obtained from the Department of Social Services from the state. So this is a one-year contract from June 1st of this year to May 31st of next year, and we'd ask for that authorization today.
Any questions for Kirsten? Commissioner Kelly?
This over $100,000 contract is this a, does Mr. Yellowrobe have a company, or is there more than one person involved, or is this just a single person? And where did the $102,000 come from?
Yeah, he is the only expert for this business, and I believe he's incorporated somehow. It's Yellow Robe Consulting. The figure comes from the state, basically. DSS is the one who determines what is going to be offered for compensation for these services. Mr. Yellowrobe has quite a docket to provide services for over the course of a year. There are many, many cases where this issue comes up, and does it on a flat fee basis no matter how many of these cases come up. And according to DSS, this is market rate for services of this type. These experts are not commonly available.
So this is not a full-time job?
He does this for other counties, I believe, but I believe the bulk of his work is for cases here in Minnehaha County, as I understand it.
Any other questions for Kirsten? You're looking for a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the chairman to sign the agreement for the Indian Child Welfare Act with a qualified expert witness. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
I think it would be interesting, if I might, is to suggest that sometime that they give us kind of a history of how many children they're actually reviewing.
Sure, yeah. That information, DSS, I believe, keeps a log of all case services provided, which goes into their calculations of the servicing fees. But I'm sure they would be willing to provide that to you guys as well if you're interested.
Could be requested.
Commissioner Peckus?
Well, I know the circuit judges in Pennington County are on the threshold of being held in contempt by Judge Viken on the federal bench for not complying with ICWA, and I'd like to figure out what is going on over there. So if you could brief us, I'd appreciate it.
I'm not sure I particularly know, but I could look into it.
All right, I guess we'll go on to item number 14.
Authorize the chairman to sign an agreement for psychological evaluations between Minnehaha County and Avera McKinnon Hospital and University Health Center. Robert Wilson.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Wilson again with the Commission Office. And as you are well aware, Minnehaha County is responsible for paying the court-ordered inquiries, paying for the court-ordered inquiries of mental competency for indigent defendants facing criminal procedures. Typically, these psychological evaluations are performed at the Human Services Center down in Yankton. However, that center and getting those evaluations completed and the results back to Minnehaha County there's been quite a delay. They perform at a set rate. They will perform 3 psychological evaluations for counties in a month statewide, and you can understand that with our volume of work, that is creating quite a backlog. I know that information from our Public Defender's Office and our Public Advocate's Office is that roughly if they made a request for an evaluation now, it would most likely be September before they would have those results back. And the results for the county are a number of fold. The Public Defender's Office, the Public Advocate's Office will tell you that is a direct detriment to their clients and the work that they're doing on behalf of their clients. Oftentimes, it also means extended jail stays that otherwise cases might potentially be able to be resolved sooner. And so there are a number of complications that causes when we have those extended time frames. To address that issue, the staff, the Commission office has been looking into potentially an agreement with Avera McKinnon hospitals and University Health Centers to perform these evaluations, and have come up with an agreement that we hope would meet the needs of both offices and that the Commission would find acceptable. Dr. Melissa Spangard would provide forensic psychiatric services to the county at a rate of $250 an hour. Typically, many of the evaluations would be able to be completed in 3 hours. Not all of them, but there are different levels of evaluation and reports that are required at different time frames. And Mr. Kappmeyer might be able to explain that better, of what is the range of services that may be needed. But this agreement would provide for the full range. The direct benefit here would be a timeliness issue, where on the most simple evaluation currently at the Human Services Center would be $600 in a cost, plus travel down. At a rate of $250 an hour for 3 hours, that would be a slightly higher cost, but your time frames would be much shorter, and you would be able to, and the issue could be resolved hopefully much quicker than it currently is right now. Our office has been working with both Cindy Howard and Public Advocate's Office and Tracy Smith, the Public Defender's Office, to negotiate this contract. Kirsten Kappmeyer has been involved in it as well. I know the information in this agreement has been forwarded to the judges, and they have reviewed it as well. And we're bringing that to you today for your consideration to sign this agreement with Avera McKinnon to provide these psychological evaluations.
Any questions for Robert?
Well, this is for Kirsten, but is this becoming kind of a routine thing for defenders to request? Is it increasing?
I would say it's increasing. I don't know if I'd go to the point of it being routine when their counsel feels that there is a legitimate issue with their psychological status, if you will. This is pursued. I would say that I don't know if the backlog is coming from just the number that are requested, or if HSC isn't able to handle as many of them timely as they used to. I'm not able to pinpoint the exact source of the bottleneck, but I'm telling you there is a bottleneck. And I'll also tell you that a lot of these people spend time in your jail, pre-sentence detention, awaiting these, where ultimately they will not probably be spending their time in our facility. So more timely completion of these may often result in them being housed at the penitentiary sooner. That's what I feel will happen.
So these can either be requested by the defender's office or ordered by the judge?
Correct.
But they're mostly pre-sentence, post-conviction.
Usually what will happen is a plea will be taken in a case, and this will be arranged or ordered as part of that plea before sentencing, and the results of that will be provided to the judge before the judge will impose sentence. They want that information, crafting an appropriate sentence. Unfortunately, because of the bottleneck, that means their stay in the jail is quite long between those two dates. And we've had to reschedule many court dates because of that particular reason.
I think the cost differential by the time you have a deputy hauling somebody down to Yankton, spending 4 hours or 3 hours down there, or whatever it is, or even an hour down there, and then coming back, the $150 is probably less than what the $600 cost is. So.
And sometimes we're going outside to outside agencies and hiring them, and if you watch the costs in our bills, they get into $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and I missed the one. I was looking for the one earlier that was more than $5,000. That one maybe couldn't have been done by this particular type of evaluation, but I think we'll save ourselves significant amount of money by going to a contract.
Plus the $80 a night that we have them in our jail.
Any other questions or comments for Robert? I would look for a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the contract.
I have a motion and a second to approve the contract for psychiatric evaluations between Minnehaha County and Avera McKinnon Hospital and University Health Center. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 15 is Minnehaha County Commissioner Liaison Reports.
Are there any liaison reports? Okay. Is there any new business?
I've got one. I got a call yesterday from Scott Peters, and Scott has been, and we need to talk about this later, but Scott has been our liaison for mental illness for, I think he was appointed in 1986 by Judge Heggie to fill in for mental illness. Scott is looking at moving into a semi-retirement phase, and I do think that yesterday the presiding judge, Judge Long, made a co-appointment of Jim Oste, and they'll be working together in the interim. So we have some changes coming. But we'll talk about that more later.
Yep. Okay. Any other liaison reports? Okay. Is there any new business? Yep, Scott has one.
Thank you again, Scott Anderson from the County Planning Department. I would like to take an opportunity to introduce a new planner that started less than 2 weeks ago. His name is Kevin Hookman, and he is a local. He lives in Del Rapids. He recently is finishing up his master's degree at SDSU, and so Kevin will, if you'd like to ask any questions of Kevin, but you'll be seeing his face around here. He'll be starting to do drainage permits and conditional use permits and everything else that we go through. So I look forward to having you all work with Kevin, and I look forward to working with Kevin as well. So welcome on board, and you can introduce yourself, and you can start asking you the tough questions.
That's right. It's direct drilling already.
Yeah, like you said, I'm Kevin Hookman, and I live in Del Rapids. I've lived there for 5 years now, and I've grown up in Minnehaha. So.
Any questions for Kevin?
Welcome aboard.
Yeah. I've known Kevin since he was 5.
Yep.
5. Maybe 6, but probably 5.
Yep.
So I've known Kevin for a long time.
So, Cindy, you've got a lot of stories to tell.
I do. I have pictures. That's what I was thinking. Oh, man, I could bring pictures of Kevin when he was little, because I got lots of them. He was in a Cub Scout troop that my son was in. So,
Sure.
yeah, I've known Kevin for a long time. So, welcome aboard, Kevin.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other new business? Any old business?
Commissioners, just briefly, I would update you on an item that I discussed with you a number of weeks ago, and this involves the potential new definition of waters of the U.S., of the Clean Water Act, and there's a review process currently underway as the EPA and the Corps are looking at a new definition. At your direction, we reached out to both NACO and our state association a month or so ago to say we feel this is an important discussion, one we want to stay apprised of, and they both organizations assured us that they would keep us in the loop of further discussions. This afternoon there is a conference call with NACO representatives and some EPA representatives that are going to further flush out some of the issues that are currently at play with that this new definition and what some of the ramifications will be. We'll be on that conference call and can give you an update next week if you're interested. Just wanted to let you know that we are continuing to follow that.
Commissioner Peckus.
Well, the EPA wants to start naming waterways in ditches running along the sides of the roads. I think they got their work cut out for them in Lincoln and Minnehaha County this week. I think one of them is called County Highway 150, so they better get started on it.
They can come to 4205 South Lewis.
That's right.
They can have the ditch that I have in mind.
Solberg Avenue, I think, is a nice waterway for them. So,
Well, just-
it's a colossal power grab by the federal government.
Just keep watching the EPA because they'll be regulating your pond in your backyard pretty quick.
I saw on the news, national news, a couple weeks ago, a couple, and I don't remember what state or anything, I wasn't taking notes, that they are actively fighting this. They are a farm family from another state, I think they were east and south of here, and actively fighting it with websites and songs and all kinds of stuff that they're trying to spread the word on how bad this is. So I think it's a very big issue, and I'm glad we're on the conference call, and I'm glad that we didn't let this slip by and not notice what was going on.
What
So
time is the conference call?
I believe it's 2 o'clock. I've got it on my
I
phone.
think it's 2.
2 o'clock.
I think
We're in a
it's
budget hearing.
3 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
today.
Eastern.
It's
Today?
It's today
Yeah.
at 2. Tomorrow's our budget hearing
Wait.
from 1 to
Wednesday.
1 to whenever. Yeah, it's okay. Any other old business? If not, I would take a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss negotiate contracts. That's it? Okay. And personnel, contracts and personnel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
I didn't make a motion. We got a motion.
I made a motion.
Okay.
I seconded
We have
it.
a motion, and a second for contracts and personnel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.